BetOnline is your number one source for all your summer sports this season. MLB, golf, NBA, NHL, all your playoff needs are handled in one place. BetOnline. Latest odds and lines, including the most up-to-date team matchups for all your favorite sports. It's all right there at BetOnline. Sit down and head to the website today to get in on the action, or use your mobile device. BetOnline, where the game starts. Where'd you get that hat, Mike? It's so dope. I know it is. Melon, M-E-L-I-N. You're out here on your farm in Texas in the humidity, and your head gets funky, but your hat won't. Melon's got you covered. 5 times more durable than any other hat on the market. Waterproof. You drop it while you're fishing, it floats right there on the water. You can wash it when it gets funky, and it'll come right back into shape, just like the day you got it. The most comfortable hat on the market, plus they got tons of different styles and fits. They even have a fit finder right there on the website. They got snapbacks, they come in classic, regular, extra large. Melon very, very rarely offers discounts, but right now you can get 30% off. So head to the website, melin.com/Mikey. Get yourself 30% off. Elevate your hat game and don't let it get in the way of your lifestyle. Melon hats, melon.com/Mikey.
I hope you're ready to have your mind blown with the greatest health and fitness information on the planet.
Yes, bitch!
Hello, everybody. Hello. Thank you to my sponsors. Thank you to you for tuning in. Also, like, subscribe, do all that stuff. A lot of people are giving me good feedback on the podcast, especially now that I've started to do episodes that are a little bit more vulnerable, and I talk about stuff that actually bothers me, and instead of like figuring out all the fancy schmancy stuff that, oh, hi, Big Mama. I have a Maine Coon, an outdoor cat, and she's come to visit. Hopefully she'll come on camera. I've gotten a lot of, that really meant a lot, or thank you for doing that, or thank you for talking about that, blah, 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 blah. And a lot of encouraging messages. But with every one of those encouraging messages, if you could have someone else or yourself like and subscribe and check out the YouTube channel and all that stuff, I would really appreciate it. Look at that tail. My name is Michael Catherwood. This is the Mikey Likes You podcast. I am the Mikey who likes you, or you who is liked. That's the system that we run with, and it's a good system, and it worked out well. Don't worry about this Maine Coon tail that gets in the way. She's protecting me from predators, as she does the chickens and the guinea fowl and all that fun stuff. Today, I'm going to talk about girl stuff. What do I mean by that? Well, I think that I'm going to separate 2 episodes. One is specific stuff that women typically screw up or overemphasize or underemphasize. And the next episode will be guys stuff. Stuff that guys typically put too much emphasis on and put too little emphasis on. And of course, there's a lot of stuff that carries over, and there will be some stuff that I talk about in both podcasts. That's going to be, I think, obvious to you if you are a fan of the show. Like, oh, well, this is universal. But there is some stuff that I think, mistakes mostly, where women emphasize and put too much interest and focus on certain stuff that really doesn't make much of a difference or is actually detrimental. And then vice versa. There's stuff specifically that guys, they idealize certain things, and they think that the best way to get to it is to do A, B, and C, and they're often really, really wrong. One of the basis of this entire podcast, when you're talking about health and fitness-based podcasts, is I don't want to say anything like I'm the authority. Anything having to do with fitness and health is like, it's kind of open-ended. There's an art to it as opposed on top of the science. And the things I relegate talking about when I really have some level of confidence in it are things that science and my own personal experience really prove to be kind of true beyond a shadow of a doubt. So I'm going to leave it at that. But even the things I do say with extreme levels of confidence, they're always open to add your kind of margin of fun or stuff that just brings you personal quality of life. I'm going to talk, for instance, I'm going to talk a lot about when it comes to fat loss, like cardio is really not optimal. Okay. But if you're a competitive marathon runner and it really makes your life a lot better, I'd be the last guy on earth to say, stop doing it. So that's just an example of how I look at things, especially in this world where we live in a hyper reality and ideas are pushed so far behind people and places and themes, because people and things and themes catch so much more attention in this ADD driven kind of TikTok world. They drive so much more attention and they get so much more interest than actual ideas, because ideas, especially when you're talking about human beings and their existence, are really, really, really nuanced and really open-ended. And that's how things go in fitness. But that doesn't make for a very good 15 to 30 second video on YouTube Shorts or TikTok. So we live in this hyper reality world where people are using extreme filters and people have extreme bodies and people have extreme everything, and that catches your eye and you just feed yourself with that over and over again. That doesn't make for a lot of like advanced education, especially on really nuanced topics like fitness and health. So let's get going. This is for the ladies. This is Ladies Night episode of the Mikey Likes You. These are things that I typically see with women that I worry about a lot. All right. First and foremost, emphasis on cardio. Okay. Let's be very clear. Check out this chart here. Claire Bays put this up. She's a very, very in shape, very, very smart lady. Check her out, Claire Bays. This is how you burn calories in a day. This is on average overall when they really look at just human metabolism. So 70% of your daily kind of caloric expenditure is just from existing. It's your basal metabolic rate. That means just waking up and going to sleep. You burn 70% of your calories doing that. Exercise thermogenesis. Exercise activity thermogenesis at the top, EAT, less than 5%. So you don't want to spend an exorbitant amount of time and energy doing cardio, which does burn a lot of calories if you're talking about like higher intensity cardio over long durations. But you're spending so much time on stuff that isn't going to pay off a lot of dividend when it comes to actual caloric expenditure in your day-to-day life. And you're compromising your actual basal metabolic rate, because the better you get at efficiency with cardio, the lower your basal metabolic rate goes. Cars with higher horsepower burn a lot more gas. And I know that that's kind of a hackneyed, very simple analogy, but it's a true one. I remember interviewing The Rock on the Kevin and Bean show, and he was talking about how much he expends, like how he has to eat so many calories just to get by, just to not lose weight. And that's because he spent so many years getting jacked. Do I think you need to look to be The Rock? No. But take into consideration what he's saying there. A really high level marathon runner essentially needs to eat just to get by a pretty small amount to maintain his or her weight, to stay really thin and light, to do long distance running over and over and over again, because they're burning thousands and thousands of calories almost every day. But their basal metabolic rate is very low. The Rock needs to eat tons just to not lose weight by being The Rock. And, as a 45-year-old guy, this is a very important message, especially to other people who are getting, above 35 in their 40s, 50s, 60s. Me being muscular and leaner year-round helps make life so much easier, because I don't have to be so neurotic about my diet, and I don't have to be so guarded about things that I do, because I work to consistently and persistently carry around a lot of muscle mass for my size, and also to stay relatively lean. So these are the things you want to do. The TEF and the NEAT, those are the non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So you actually burn a lot more with that it's a larger component than even exercise, your non-exercise activity. And that's doing your house chores, walking from your car to get to your desk. From your desk, you get up and go walk around. And that's why I recommend so thoroughly the idea of your non-resistance training exercise being walking. We'll get into that in more detail later because that's going to be my next point. And then the TEF is your the thermic effect of food with thermogenesis. What does that mean? It means how much you burn by digesting the food that you eat. Protein, out of all the 3 macronutrients, protein, fat, and carbohydrates, has the highest thermic effect of food. So when you're talking about non-exercise activity, you want to do a lot of it and keep it pretty consistent. You want to get your basal metabolic rate higher. How do you do that? Get jacked, get more muscle on your frame, and you want to increase your thermic effect of food. How do you do that? You eat more protein, okay? Get out of here. Your exercise activity thermogenesis is actually comprising a very low amount, and it can be the number one thing besides, long-term starvation that would lower your basal metabolic rate. Okay, aging, starvation, these are things that are going to dramatically impact your basal metabolic rate, but becoming more efficient at kind of absorbing and using calories is exactly what you don't want to do with your basal metabolic rate. And how do you become more efficient? You get good at long-term cardio. Okay? You want to become a muscle car, not a Prius. Sorry, I guess Prius doesn't count. Let's think of a really small engine like a Ford Focus is great for being a marathon runner because you don't want to expend a lot of energy doing little things. If you want to stay lean and look good naked, you want to be the most inefficient machine you can possibly be when it comes to burning that food. And how do you do that? Get muscular, stay lean. All right, let's move on to the next thing here. I'm going to bring up this clip from Lane Norton to help me get into the next thing that I think ladies make the biggest mistake with, and that is too little emphasis on protein, too much emphasis on low-calorie kind of classic diet foods, okay?
And so if you look at studies where people aren't resistance training and they just diet and they're not like they're normal protein, not high protein, you see anywhere from like a 30% to 40% of the weight they lose is from lean mass.
So that's pretty considerable. And Lane Norton's not a guy who's going to say things that aren't bankable by science. The fitness world gets so crazy and so highly debated and so critical. But Lane backs up what he's saying, and he's a scientist himself. He's a biochem guy. And, you're talking about 30 to 40% of your weight loss coming from muscle mass. Now you're really lowering that basal metabolic rate considerably. Okay, like put it into consideration. If you're myself, I'm 175 pounds, 180 pounds, and 5'10". Most average dudes who are 5'10", 175, 180 pounds need about 1,100, 1,200 calories to get by. Okay, just to if they were to wake up and then go to sleep lying in bed all day. I need 3,800. And I've had that, I've actually had, metabolic tests. So what does that tell you is that the same thing goes because ladies carry a lot, you have a lot less effective hormonal profiles when it comes to staying lean and muscular, and you have slower metabolic rates for a reason. You naturally carry higher levels of body fat because you breastfeed and you have children and things like that. And it's biologically very important for you to be a little bit more, to have a little bit higher levels of body fat, okay? The last thing you want to do is to just make this hill you're climbing when it comes to having that body you're dreaming of, make it much and much more steep by not focusing on eating a lot of protein and not focusing on resistance training, okay? Let's move to our next clip, and it is another guy who I really like and I really trust, and it is Sal from the Mind Pump.
Cardio, it's terrible for fat loss. It's great for health, walking, swimming, running, biking. It's great to improve the quality of your life. It's not an effective form of exercise for fat loss. So what happens is people do cardio for the thing that it's terrible for, and they end up not getting great results, and then they loathe it. No, do cardio, but do it just to feel good. Do it just for your health. The best form of cardio across the board, in my opinion, is walking. I like walking because most people can walk with good form. So getting the average 40-something-year-old to start running all of a sudden, well, we got to really work on your technique and mobility because otherwise we're going to develop injuries. But most people can still walk okay. Walk for 10 minutes after every meal. That's a 30-minute walk every single day. That will improve your health.
Okay, so there you go. And these are things I hammer home, the tenets of like the clients I work with, and just here on the podcast when I talk to you and I talk to people in my everyday life. Resistance train, resistance train, resistance train. Work on getting stronger, work on getting better and doing more effective levels of resistance training, increasing that resistance over time. It's not, this is even though I'm talking about how I don't like marathon training, resistance training and that endeavor and losing fat and gaining muscle, it is a marathon, not a sprint. Although you should train more like a sprinter than you should like a marathon runner. And also the non-resistance training stuff that you should do is just daily kind of low-level walking. Walking's the best because it doesn't hurt your body. It doesn't take good form. Running does. Running actually takes quite a bit of understanding with mechanical ability. And then also it is going to not make you more hungry. And lots of zone 2, zone 3, or endurance training cardio is going to make you starving. And it's going to make it harder for you to monitor the stuff that you're eating. Part of living on a farm, insects. It's going to make it harder for you to monitor the stuff you're eating and then not be happy with the outcome, because diet is really the paramount important thing when it comes to looking good in the mirror and looking good naked. So you're upping your protein, you're focusing on resistance training, and you're not making those mistakes. The last thing I will talk about with women in particular, and I'm going to use a lady here who is 50 years old and looks amazing for one reason. She was making that same mistake that a lot of women make for many years, and then in her 50th year really got it together and started to focus on resistance training and high protein, and also focus on getting stronger. Big weights do not equal big muscles. Actually, high volume muscular training, what most people think of when it comes to getting leaner, equals big bulking muscles. But let's check this lady out. Her name's Alicia, and I will put her handle up here when it comes to giving her the credit for it. So check out this video for this first one from her. Again, 50 years old. Look at this body.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Lifting heavy, okay? Most women think it's a terrible idea. They don't want to look bulky. I can't tell you how many people it's like, I'm not really concerned with, moving big amounts of weight or lifting big heavy weights because I don't want to be bulky. Well, that's the exact opposite. That's one of the old adages that goes for men and women that so many people believe, like, well, when it's time to bulk up, I'm going to lift heavy weights. And when it's time to get lean, I'm just going to do a lot of reps, a lot of sculpting. That's not how it works. In fact, it's quite the opposite. I've been around a lot of professional, high-level, world-class MMA fighters and boxers and kickboxers. When they have to make weight, they have to increase their the amount of weight and poundages that they're lifting, and they reduce the amount of reps. When they want to go up a weight class, the first thing they do is start getting in the 10, 12, even 20 rep range, 20 plus rep range with much more moderate and light weights, because that is really the most effective way to kind of pump up and add quality muscular weight. So you're making a huge mistake if your whole goal in life is to be more svelte, is to be more lean, to be more appealing naked. You got to start lifting heavier weights. Do I think you need to be a competitive power lifter? Of course not, ladies, but don't fear the big weight. In fact, it's one of the biggest mistakes you can make when it comes to resistance training. Now check out this video from this same woman, Alicia.
Turn down, turn down, turn down, turn down, turn down. Get out of your mind. Get out of your mind.
I love seeing that chronological stuff when you can see how she started. Of course, she didn't start at a level where she was fat or completely out of shape. But when she finally made the decision at age 50 to just really focus on resistance training and to get big weights, you saw the body got leaner. It got more svelte, and which is what all women are looking for. I understand she's now so lean that a lot of people would find that unappealing. I don't. I think she's pretty fucking hot. But I understand, like, not everyone wants to have like an extreme six pack, especially females. But it's not like she got big and bulky. In fact, quite the opposite, right? And so you just got to keep these things into consideration. So let me really recap and put this into the Reader Digest version so you can take this into your own life. Your basal metabolic rate is the biggest factor when it comes to burning calories on a day-to-day basis. It has nothing to do with your exercise or food choices. Mostly the amount of calories that you're going to lose, over 70% of it, just over 70% is going to come from just existing. How do you increase that? You increase that by eating more protein and getting more lean muscle mass on your body. How do you decrease that? You do a lot of like long endurance training and cardio, and you start to really bring down the amount of calories that you're eating. Okay, so do not focus on when you're trying to make that big change, like I'm just going to burn as many calories as I can and I'm going to starve myself, because you're actually digging that hole deeper for yourself in the long run. Also, best form of cardio is going to be walking, because it keeps you in that zone where you're not going to get starving, and you can just stay active and increase your recovery and your ability to go and do the things that are going to make the biggest impact, resistance training. And it's not going to compromise your recovery, but it's also not going to make you starving. So really low level daily expenditure type stuff of just existing in an active lifestyle, walking being the best example I can give, is the best form of cardio you can choose. Focus on eating protein, make it the priority in your dietary choices, and then also focus on making those changes to resistance training with big weights. And don't be afraid of lifting heavy, ladies, because it is going to make the biggest difference on you looking thinner and leaner, and it's not going to turn you into some big bulky maniac. All right. So that is Mikey Likes You podcast. Thank you to Bet Online and all my sponsors. Thank you to you, and check out my Patreon if you'd like more intense, in-depth help. And in this crazy mixed up world that makes you think that nobody cares, remember, I do. Be good.